Good afternoon, and thank you for registering for this live webinar, everybody. Today we are talking about bringing together value, co-creation, and innovation for successful collaboration. If I could, just to make sure everyone can hear us correctly, can I maybe just get you to say a hello or something like that in the chat box, please? Excellent. I'm seeing all the hellos and the all goods and all that coming through. So thank you very much for that. All right. Well, let me introduce myself. My name is Clint Burtonshaw, and I am the Senior Education Training and Professional Development Officer for apicsAU. And I will be your host today. And it is absolutely wonderful to have everyone here this afternoon. Okay, so as we move the slides across, I'll give you a bit of a rundown as to apicsAU. For some of you, you may already be quite familiar with apicsAU. For some of you, this might be your first time, and welcome. Australia's premier professional supply chain community since 1963 is us. And you can see there we've got our value proposition where we focus on education and training, professional development, and leadership and innovation. And as part of our professional development offering, we've designed a series of complimentary live webinars just like this one to help our community develop the knowledge they need to bridge the skills gap in this industry. We've partnered with SYSPRO, one of our corporate partners, because we believe that technology will play a crucial role in the future of the supply chain industry. Okay, so as we move along, we are proud to say that we've trained around about 120,000 supply chain professionals worldwide in global certifications. And you can just see here a snapshot of a few of the corporate partners who have dedicated to the professional development of their people. And there's some big names there for sure. And if you're just sort of sussing us out for the first time, please, it'd be lovely to have your logo up there. Okay, moving along. A little bit more about our professional community. What we pride ourselves on is we have special interest groups, and you can see there's our 9 special interest groups across a broad range of areas within the supply chain. And when you join up to our website, you can actually subscribe to our special interest groups. And what that does, it allows you to not only receive the information that is regularly updated on our website, but also filter through the information to receive just what you need to know in regards to that special interest group. Now, as you have all seen, there is a chat box here on this particular platform. If you would like to join a particular special interest group or just join up to our website as a web friend and you're not already a member of Apex, please just throw into the chat box a join and we can actually get that signed up for you on the back. So I'll give everyone a moment just to throw that in there. Now, this chat box is also quite useful in what it will do is as we progress through the webinar today, if you would have any questions or you want to know a little bit more or anything like that, by all means, throw them into the chat box. Or later on, when you are signed up to the special interest groups, you can throw it into the Q&A section on there. If we just progress one slide further, you'll actually see a screenshot of what it looks like in our system there. There you go. Just your standard sort of Q&A type forum. And we can get your answers answered by the professionals. And speaking of the professionals, we have a couple of industry experts with us today. Our first is Sharon Grant, Managing Director of LCS Solutions. And there she is there. And with master's and degree qualifications in logistics and operations management, she's certainly making me look bad. Sharon has an unquenched thirst for finding and mastering the world's best practice supply chain management practices and methodologies for the benefit of her clients. Sharon draws 15 years experience using the SCORE model and the supply chain excellence methodology by Peter Bolstorff and Robert G. Rosenbaum. Hopefully I've said their names correctly. Today, Sharon will draw from her theoretical and practical experience to address business relationships and how you can establish mutually beneficial business relationships that achieve expectations and competitive advantage. Sharon, over to you, and thank you and welcome.
Thank you very much, Clint. I'm now sharing my screen. So yes, today I'll be presenting how to establish mutually beneficial relationships that achieves expectations and competitive advantage. So I'm the founder and owner of LSE Solutions, which was established in 2004. So we provide supply chain and logistics management consulting, coaching, and education services via our agencies, Supply Chain Manager and Supply Chain Coach. We have partnered with the Supply Chain Management Institute in Florida to deliver its methodologies in Australia, including the Supply Chain Management Framework and the two relationship tools we'll be covering today, the partnership model and the collaboration framework. So Dr. Douglas Lambert is the director of the Institute, and he led a team of researchers via the Global Supply Chain Forum at the Ohio State University. So this forum was established in 1992. Now, the development of the relationship methodologies came about by 3M approaching Dr. Lambert and saying, we're not particularly good at managing our relationships and they're not actually achieving our expectations. So if you could develop tools that could help us to manage our relationships better, then we see that as a worthwhile investment in the Global Supply Chain Forum. So that set about a research journey which involved 20 multi-billion-dollar corporations into how to establish relationships that do achieve the expectations and sustainable competitive advantage, and what's going wrong in these relationships, and why are some relationships more successful than others. Let's now look at the types of relationships and the degrees of integration. So not all partnerships should be relationships. Not all relationships should be partnerships. Partnerships are costly to implement. So the majority of our relationships with our suppliers and customers are through a single point of contact. They do have a product and services agreement where that has involved a team. However, the partnership model looks at three types of partnerships. And we can see that the degrees of integration increases as the criticality to success increases. So there are some key considerations for assessing relationship criticality. And basically, the number one is the impact on the firm if the relationship were to end. So if the impact was so significant, then we need to have in place integrated processes and activities. And we can see in the partnership type 3 relationship, these are so significant that the CEO of each firm actually attends the annual general meeting at each firm. It was also found that the opportunity for value co-creation also increases. Now, managers still experience great difficulty in implementing relationships that meet the expectations of both parties. Dr. Lambert's research identified 28 common reasons why key business relationships fail. And 2 reasons were identified as primary reasons for disappointment with relationship outcomes. And they are, 1 or both parties had unrealistic expectations going into the relationship. And 2, expectations were reasonable, but were never articulated and agreed upon, and no plan was developed for achieving them, and failure was the result. We now have a poll question. So a poll will show on your screen and you will have 30 seconds to respond. So in your experience, which primary reason causes the most disappointment with outcomes in key business relationships? Okay, now here are the results, and this is amazing. We have 50-50, so for both. So unrealistic expectations going into the relationship, and number 2, expectations were reasonable. Well, Dr. Lambert's research identified that unrealistic expectations was one of the most common reasons for disappointment in key business relationships. And the research also identified that not clearly articulating expectations was one of the key problems that surfaced when managing the relationship over time. So thank you very much for your participation in that poll. We're now going to look at the 4 key drivers that enable you to identify your compelling reasons to partner or collaborate. The first one is asset and cost efficiency. So basically, can the 2 parties identify initiatives that will allow you to remove supply chain costs from the supply chain? Are there opportunities to better utilize assets? The second driver is customer service improvement. How can we work together better together to identify ways to reduce customer service lead time? How can we make inventory more available throughout the supply chain? Because this will lead to increased sales. How can we improve the timeliness and the accuracy of the information that we are exchanging, and better still, provide each other with greater visibility to that information so that we can improve customer service? The marketing advantages can be huge. What are the opportunities that we could develop joint marketing programs to our existing markets, because we both have quite a number of suppliers and customers that we could tap into? Can we enter into new markets together, or can we have better access to technology and innovation? The fourth driver is profit stability and profit growth. Basically, we want to look at ways that we can improve cash flow. We want to reduce the variability in sales and profits. And are there opportunities for longer term volume commitments? Let's now look at the partnership model, because this is the tool for developing and managing partnerships. The partnership definition is identified as a tailored business relationship based on mutual trust, openness, shared risk and shared reward that results in business performance greater than would have been achieved by two firms working together in the absence of partnership. Now, that definition is loaded with key elements. That was constructed based on those 20 multi-billion-dollar corporations identifying the key elements for a successful partnership. So using the model, you're going to make a decision to either create a partnership based on an existing relationship, or you may want to adjust an existing partnership. Over a 1.5-day workshop, you'll be bringing together your cross-functional teams. Your cross-functional teams can include sales, marketing, manufacturing, logistics, finance, IT, research and development, and purchasing, whichever function is relevant to that partnership. So together, you'll be bringing about 15 people from each company, and the workshop will have 2 workshop leaders. So the first 4 hours of the workshop, you'll be spending in separate rooms. The supply team will go away with the one workshop leader, and the customer team will go away with the other workshop leader. You'll be spending 4 hours going through the key drivers, identifying what are the goals you would like to achieve from this relationship, and identifying the initiatives that you'll need to put in place in order to achieve that goal. Then, after you have identified that, you come back together as a group. You need to present your initiatives, your drivers, and your goals to the other team. The other team will then review those goals and identify which ones they accept, which ones they reject, and which ones will they need to get further information before they're prepared to make a decision. At that point, they have a list of joint goals that they're willing to pursue. Then they have to look at the facilitators, which are the supportive environmental factors that will enhance the partnership growth. This will allow them to determine how easy or hard the partnership will be to implement. They're going to need to look at how compatible are our corporations. What are our management philosophies? Then they look at mutuality. Are we both agreeing that there is a mutual benefit if we establish this relationship through a partnership? So then they assess the drivers and the facilitators and determine the potential for partnership. They're actually provided with a score sheet, and they're going to score the probability of both players being able to achieve those goals. Then they will also score the probability of both parties providing a supportive environment that can actually implement those initiatives to achieve those goals. Using the propensity to partner matrix, they then look at the points. So say, for example, they scored 12 driver points and 12 facilitator points. That would identify a type 2 partnership. At that workshop, they then go and review the managerial controls they will need to put in place to manage a type 2 partnership. Now, the partnership model provides you with the template for a type 1, type 2, type 3 partnership. So basically, they're going through this template for each of these 8 managerial control components. Looking at what does planning require? Are we doing that type of planning now? Will we need to introduce this this way to plan together with another firm. So these are cross-functional, cross-firm teams that will need to work together. After the workshop, they put in place the agreements, the product and services agreement, implement the agreement, measure the outcomes over time, and examine whether it has met their expectations. For areas where their expectations have still not been met, they need to review the components, the managerial controls, review the drivers, were the drivers realistic as we thought they were, and review the facilitators. Did we provide as a supportive environment that we thought we were going to provide when we set out in the beginning? I'll now take you through a brief overview of the collaboration framework, which is a tool for developing and managing collaborations. Now, I also have a slide in another presentation which will take you through the differences between a partnership and a collaboration. But quite simply, a collaboration is typically for new relationships, or it's when management wants to develop a plan for the next 18 to 24 months with an important key supplier or key customer, but they still don't view each other as partners. Over a one-day workshop, again, you bring together your cross-functional teams. You assess the drivers and identify goals. So the most prominent part about the collaboration framework is focusing on the goals. So you're aligning your expectations and then you're setting a goal priority. At this point, unlike the partnership workshop, you're not placing a probability on the drivers or the facilitators. You're actually looking at a goal priority. Then you're developing an action plan for how you're going to go about working together, implementing the initiatives to achieve the goals. After the workshop, you put together the agreement, you implement the agreement, review the performance, and re-examine the drivers. I'll now provide you with a collaboration case study. So Bob Evans Farms was a member of the Global Supply Chain Forum who has over 500 restaurants across 18 states in America. They also manufacture a line of grocery products. So they set out to consolidate their food distribution. Now, just before they did this, they wanted to measure the value of their existing relationships. So they called Dr. Lambert and his team of researchers came on board and measured the value of their key relationships. They were quite surprised, and I have another slide if you're interested in the outcome of that research. They were very surprised, and it actually changed the way that they perceived value of relationships. They then introduced a new criteria, potential to co-create value. Gordon Food Service won the tender. They had a comparative advantage in number 2 and 3, potential to co-create value and financial stability. However, their quote was $2.7 million higher than the other suppliers. So in order to justify Bob Evans Farms' decision to select Gordon Food Service, they then agreed that the value co-creation opportunities had to be $2.7 million higher per year to justify their selection. Now, 6 months into the relationship, they weren't making any headway. Bob Evans Farms senior management called Dr. Lambert and said, this is not actually working because we don't think Gordon Food Service has been educated on the value co-creation opportunities and how to establish them and implement them. And they were, Bob Evans Farms did say to Dr. Lambert, could you come in and provide a presentation? But they were fearful that Gordon Food Service might be seeing that as a suggestion to lower their prices. And that's not what they wanted to do. So what they did is they held a collaboration workshop because they saw this as a better way of working together to identify those joint initiatives and joint goals that the relationship needs to achieve. So they brought along a total of 33 managers from each other's companies, about 15 from each company, which represented those functions: sales, marketing, manufacturing, logistics, finance, IT, R&D, and purchasing. Now, Gordon Food Service also brought along their CEO, their CFO, and their president because the relationship was that important to them. Bob Evans Farms also brought along their Executive Vice President of Supply Chain Management. So they assessed the drivers, and as we can see here, a total of 40 drivers was identified. Now, when they came together to present the drivers to each other, they found that 10 of the 40 drivers were similar for both companies. For example, they wanted to offer Gordon Food Services freight management services to Bob Evans Farms suppliers. They also saw value in establishing product development teams to jointly discuss new menu items. Now, I see this as highly successful. 38 of the 40 drivers were accepted as joint goals. So some goals were accepted without any further information required. Others were accepted subject to evaluation, and others were accepted based on particular conditions. Here's some example initiatives that got up, including the increasing sales of Bob Evans Farms products through Gordon Food Services' 170 stores. This next one I really like is the Joint Employee Discount Program, because between them, they have 60,000 employees. So that was a revenue base they each wanted to tap into. Then they developed their strategy and action plan and implemented. Now, the results of the value co-creation opportunities, over a period of 4 years, they created more than 42 million Australian in additional profit. Now, what they did do is they held a further 2 more collaboration workshops. There were changes in staff, but what they found that the teams working together in cross-functional, cross-brand teams were quite excited to work together, and they kept identifying new initiatives, new opportunities that they could forge ahead with. Now, senior management really appreciated this, but they didn't want them going off on their own and implementing these initiatives without the whole group being a part of that decision and being a part of how to establish the controls and initiatives that need to be put in place so that we do actually achieve these outcomes. So they said, okay, no more creating initiatives just by yourself. We're going to hold workshops, get everyone together so that we can manage these initiatives and set up a plan properly and implement, and that can form part of the formal reporting that everyone has agreed to. So what we're offering you is the opportunity to learn the partnership model, collaboration framework, and also the customer relationship management process and supplier relationship management process. So those two last processes are part of the supply chain management framework. So that is a one-day education program on high-performance business relationships. So Dr. Lambert and Dr. Matthias Enns will be visiting Australia next year in June in Brisbane and Melbourne to facilitate those programs. We are also offering an opportunity for one partnership workshop and one collaboration workshop whilst Dr. Lambert and Dr. Enns are in Australia, supported by our team. So this will provide you with an opportunity to establish a high-performance business relationship with a key customer or a key supplier. So let's recap. So we need to use key drivers to articulate and communicate your expectations. Any expectations left unstated in key business relationships can later become sources of disappointment. We want to use partnerships when a key relationship history exists. And we want to use the partnership model and the collaboration framework to structure mutually beneficial commercial relationships to co-create value. And this one is an important one. We need to invest in key collaborative relationships with parties who are willing and capable of value co-creation. So these are our top 20 relationships that we want to review. Now, a lot of the members of the Global Supply Chain Forum have actually used the partnership model and the collaboration framework on their top 40 suppliers and top 40 customers to see where on that matrix for the potential to partner, where did they fall on that matrix. So value co-creation is the next level of development for customer and supplier relationships. So thank you very much for your time and attention today. If you have any questions, you're very welcome to contact me.
Thank you, Sharon. All right, guys, so it's pretty clear here that your professional development is going to require quite a bit of dedication and commitment. And it's at this point here that I'd like to invite you all and encourage you all to consider your professional development and what you're going to do moving forward, particularly with a new year coming on. And we all go about our way doing New Year's resolutions. Hopefully you're a little better than I am and actually stick to them. And one of those New Year's resolutions that I think everyone should take seriously is developing your career. Here at apicsAU, we've been working extremely hard to pull together our 2017 program, and where I'm I personally am very excited to announce the 2017 program, of which you will all receive an information guide at the end of today's webinar. We've put a lot of work into bringing on our new certification in logistics, transport and distribution, or the CLTD as we've been affectionately calling it. We've since found new learning facilities in Melbourne and Sydney, and these learning facilities are state of the art. They're very look. I've been to the facilities, and I can say that they are a beautiful learning environment. So please don't take my word for it. Check it out yourself. We've also looked and spoken to our cohort out there and our members, and with that, we have made a massive leap towards Saturday classes. So over the past year, we've actually been listening to everyone's request and moving away from evening classes, which I know so many people find it hard to get away from work and feel dedicated to studies. And we've heard the cries, and we have put on a majority of Saturday classes. There are still a few day classes in there during the week if your boss can give you some time off. But yeah, now there's no excuse to study. We've got discounted exam credits bundled with our registration. And something that I am extremely excited about is our new short courses as virtual classrooms. So we know it's not always easy to get away from the office, and we're all very time poor nowadays. But our virtual classrooms have been set up to essentially log in for a couple of hours from your desk or from your mobile device. That's one of the cool things, is that you can actually log in via your mobile phone or your iPad or tablet and partake in your learning. And these are usually just a couple of hours over a couple of sessions within a few weeks, and you can learn a whole range of different skills. So I encourage you all to take a look at the information guide for 2017 that you will receive. And if you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to contact myself or the team here at apicsAU. All right, moving forward, I would like to introduce our next presenter, which is Joe Reitman, our National Sales Manager at SYSPRO. He is an absolute champion when it comes to the SYSPRO system. I've had the honour of working with Joe previously on webinars and also on presentations. It is clear he has a burning desire to make a difference in the business world and has a true passion for technology. Us geeks can smell our own, utilizing knowledge and methodologies from around the world to benefit clients. Joe has been involved in businesses of all shapes and sizes, from SME to multinational corporations, helping them acquire, implement, and maximize return on investment for cutting-edge technology to drive and deliver efficiencies and success across all facets of business. Joe will be discussing the current trend of bring your own device and its ramifications, good or bad, on your organization. Joe, thank you, and over to you.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? Okay, so the reason we're here today is to talk about BYOD, and the reason we're talking about BYOD is because we've been looking at this recently and found that there's a lot of interest in the marketplace and a lot of people are looking to take this stuff up. So quickly, our agenda today is based around what we're going to do. We're going to talk about what BYOD is, why BYOD, some commercial aspects and what we need to look at, and the benefits and outcomes of that sort of stuff. Okay, so BYOD is a fairly simple concept, but as you'll see, when done properly, it's appropriate, and using the appropriate guidelines, it can really have some significant outcomes for business today. There's a lot of organisations that are currently using BYOD, certainly in the Americas and places like that. It's something that has already taken off significantly. There's a significant portion of people here already starting to look at what we're doing here and things like that. So it's a fairly simple process, but it does get complex when we dive into it, which you'll see. So there are almost 90% of IT managers globally that are looking at BYOD and believe it's a positive outcome, okay, for their business. It leads to higher cost savings and higher productivity. We're currently working with a client here in Australia to roll this out through their organisation, and there's some really key benefits for these guys here in Australia. In most cases, they're looking at 2 devices, but as a minimum, they're looking at 1 device reduced within each van. That in itself is going to save a significant amount of upfront costs and increase productivity. Along with that, with measuring that, what they've come up with is, if as a bare minimum, they're looking at $1,300 per van per year in cost savings. When you roll that up and looking at what they have in terms of 600 vans on the road, that comes to a total of about $1 million, about $750,000 per year throughout the organisation. There are a number of things to look out for when you're considering BYOD. There's a few of those flashing up as we speak, but I'm going to skip through some of that animation so that we can talk about the top 3. So some of the key things to look out for are security, infrastructure, and support. They're the top 3 that seem to have been uncovered through all of the research that's been done globally. Ensuring you've planned and executed these, and that your preparation, throughout your preparation and throughout the rollout of this particular type of investment, is key factor. So if we I'll go to the next slide and we'll talk about how we can look at some of that. Training employees on best practice for using their own device at work is vital. Ensuring that they have the appropriate security software on their mobile devices or on their own devices supplied by them, and that it's updated on a regular basis, is key factor. Putting in place a mobile device management solution and policies will assist both your IT department and your end users in rolling out a program. It will also avoid issues as far as training goes, and making sure that they've got an appropriate training on the devices and the software utilization. One of the key factors with security is the fact that, with the training side, is the fact that most people don't actually understand the devices that they're given from a company, and they've got to really work out how to use them, and that causes a significant amount of training stuff. There are some companies that have done this really well and some companies that haven't done it really well, and the ones that have done it really well have come across a lot of things that they've really learned from. The key factors to the learnings that they've had are the fact that by providing guidelines, by providing a management system that gives people options as to what they can choose and how to utilize things, that's the key factor in how they're going to get success and drive the maximum return on investment for the particular initiative. Some of the commercial stuff that we've looked at, there are 2 main benefits to the business. The first one being the upfront costs and the replacement costs of devices, and the second one being productivity. From a productivity perspective, the results are considerably higher for a management level employee. However, if you plan it right and you perform the right training and put the right processes and procedures in place, the return for all users can be maximized. As you can see, some of the research that's come up, and this is from a survey I was looking at last night from Cisco. They've surveyed their clientele and come back with $1,300 per user per year. That's a significant saving over a number every year. So some of the key outcomes from this are, as you can see from there, there's a lot of people who've done a lot of research into this. There's 4 specific people up there: Cisco, Forbes, Samsung, and IBM. All of these people have come across and looked at what the pitfalls are and what the benefits are, and they all believe that it's a typically good idea for customers to look at. One of the key factors here is the fact that you're getting a benefit from both a cost perspective and a productivity perspective, and a nice added benefit to that from a commercial perspective is the fact that your employees are also much more satisfied. If you look at the last point there, people actually feel, the third point there, people actually feel that it is gives them the ability to balance their work-home lives. The entire BYOD concept sits really well into SYSPRO's core objectives. The 3 main objectives for SYSPRO are simplify complexity, solution-driven technology, and future-proofing your business. Achieving all of that while you're also saving money and increasing productivity. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Joe. Okay, we hope you've enjoyed our live webinar, and I encourage you to seek out the very best supply chain education and training available so that you will achieve professional growth and continue to make a positive contribution in our industry. There will be an information pack provided via email, which will include further information from today's webinar. I also would like to extend that if you do have any questions or any comments or just want to have a chat, by all means, feel free to call the office here at apicsAU. We're more than happy to help you out with any of your questions or your needs. For those of you who have asked to sign up to our Q&A to our website, we'll get you sorted out on there. For those of you who decide later on, by all means, head over to our site, apicsau.org.au, and you can sign up as a web friend there as well and get post any questions you may have there. Guys, we hope that you join us for future live webinars in 2017, and as always, we hope you pursue your learning and development further. Have a great afternoon. Bye for now.